Okay, my beautiful friends, and I just want to remind you of how freaking beautiful you actually are. And I mean that. You really are. So here, people, let's talk. It's Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. I want to start off with a couple of headlines, if you will, here. So this is Yahoo Finance. You can look this up for yourself. They're explaining, well, here's the headline. Fragile liquidity in the bond market. Now, I love hearing this, and I'm sure you do too. It is getting attention on the mainstream media outlets, and it's a huge thing. Look, you and I, if you've been with me since, I don't know, I started with this like 10 years ago, explaining there was issues here in the debt market. Keep your eyes on the debt market here. It's a ticking time bomb. I mean, I've described the debt market itself as many things. The greatest threat to human life on the planet, for which it is. I mean, period, the end. You all know that here. An implosion in the debt market is going to change everything on an incredible scale here. Resource problems, inability to access basic necessities to live here, a complete lockup of the financial system, no ability to access cash. I mean, that's eventually what is going to happen here. And there is certainly cracks in the global debt market right now, henceforth why, Bank of England jumped in here with now QE squared. I explained this just yesterday. They are vastly increasing their quantitative easing here. European Central Bank, again, buying it all. This phenomenon of central banks continuing to buy, it's not going to stop, and it has never stopped. So all the nonsense talk about, what the Feds are going to do or other central banks, they're not going to stop inflating. You all know that they have to inflate because that's the nature of the beast. No one's going to tell you the truth. The debt-based economic model, I'm just going to cover it again, demands that more debt be pulled into the now from the future in greater and greater amounts. Greater and greater amounts. It must increase exponentially just to keep the system afloat. Without that, it's over. We get a full-on implosion, and that is eventually going to happen. So on top of the Bank of England, QE squared, on top of, fragile liquidity in the bond market, we got another interesting warning from the Wall Street super bank, JP Morgan. Now, they're talking about a dollar crisis, pointing towards a coming or an evolving currency crisis. Now, look, that's another thing that I have been explaining and you have been clear about. We're in a full-blown currency crisis right now, but we haven't seen anything yet. In my view, this is the early stages of the currency crisis. As this accelerates here, look, a few things are going to happen. Let's put that together here. We already are seeing a phenomenon of global inflation surging out of control. Certain parts of the world, Europe, my European friends, getting hit very hard right now. This is eventually going to make its way here to the United States. It's going to sweep the globe first to end up finishing here in the United States. That's how it's going to play out. That's how it is playing out already here. Now, this issue, JP Morgan, pointing at a dollar crisis or currency crisis, you understand how this works. There is a race to the bottom. I've told you this for years and years and years and years. Central banks deliberately killing their currencies. And that is why the real reason why we're seeing inflation, not because rates are too low. Okay, that's the nonsense, garbage, dog shit, cat shit, bird shit, monkey shit, freaking line that they've been feeding people via the mainstream propaganda. Oh, rates, it's rates. So the central bank's going to raise rates. It's going to make everything better. Hasn't done a damn thing. And that drives me, you have no idea how much that bothers me. I talk about it every day. When are people going to wake up? Hey, Fed's been raising rates for months now. Other central banks doing the same thing. Guess what? Inflation continues to rise. When are people going to say, hey, it's not working? Well, they're not going to because they have no idea what's going on. This is a currency crisis. Don't listen to Greg Mannarino anymore. It's getting traction from a Wall Street super bank. And this issue with the debt market, look, with regard to the debt market, for which the dollar and other fiat currencies are all part of, okay? This is just the beginning. It's just the beginning of what's coming down the pike. But like I said yesterday, I don't know if you caught my video at the end of the day, watch for a narrative change, all right? Oh, inflation is getting better. Food prices are coming down, for which they're not. They're already trying to push that narrative. And nobody out here, and I heard from thousands and thousands of you, said that you're seeing food prices come down. No, they're not coming down. Energy prices going up. Well, that's going to be another thing. Energy prices, oh, we're doing great. Fantastic. How did that work out? Let's see, with President Biden promising that we were going to see lower energy prices when he released crude from the strategic reserves. Oh, and they had a big party at the White House about it. They even had another party. You know about this one, the one about the Inflation Reduction Act, which has done nothing. All it's going to do is create more inflation. But you see, that's how they sell things to you. Imagine how stupid they think you and I are, that we're going to believe that we could spend our way, that they, the freaks, can spend our way out of inflation. You can't make that up, but it's true. All right? And where does all that cash come from? The central banks. Federal Reserve is more than happy to lend. Look, the meltdown, the last meltdown, 2008, I said on Greg Hunter's show many, many years ago that this time they bailed out the banks. Next time, they'll bail out nations. And that's exactly what's going on here. Why? Central banks are determined, people. What's the goal of central banks again? You know, it's two things: to become the lenders and buyers of last resort here, to bring the global economy to its knees incrementally, but now it's accelerating, so they can fund it all. That gives them ultimate power, ultimate control. This has been the goal of central banks since their inception, to one day take over the entire world. Okay, and they're the government. All right, they control the financial system. They control the economy. That means they control everything else. You understand? I think you're well versed in this already. I've spoken about this since time immemorial. All right, so with that said, let's look over here at the stock market. The last time I looked, stock futures were slightly in the red. Nothing major, but slightly in the red nonetheless. The 10-year yield higher, 3.91. Okay. Now remember, people, it's not so much the number. It's the pace at how fast bonds are selling off. Let's see what happens here now that the Bank of England has now introduced QE squared. They're buying double what they were buying just a few weeks ago here. Meanwhile, they were supposed to be cutting back. Remember that? Look how they sell things to people. It's always the same story. When the Bank of England started their new round of quantitative easing, but you can't call it quantitative easing, but it is quantitative easing. When they started that, it was a temporary thing. It was going to only last a couple of weeks. You and I laughed about that. Now, what they have done is now increased it twofold. My take on it is, forget about the twofold. It's going to go 3, 4, 5. You have to understand that. And it's only a matter of time, in my view, before other banks become go public on this again. Because central banks, they all understand. They don't coordinate. You know they don't do that, right? Because Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell said that. He went out of his way, I think the last FOMC meeting or the one before that, to make it clear to you and me, crystal clear. Oh yeah, that central banks, they talk all the time, but they don't coordinate their efforts. Bullshit. They're coordinating everything. They work together, and they're doing this collectively to bring the world economy to its knees here. What did we hear yesterday? Fed President Evans, that thing, I can't stand him. You know what? I can't stand a single Fed president, whether it's Lex Luthor, and I hate them all. I really, really do. Their mission is to destroy you. They want you and me dead as fast as we can become dead, all right? That's the truth here. That's eventually what they're going to do. Collapse of the global financial system, cull a vast amount of the global population, more control, period. That's what we're leading to. I tell you, people, if people really understood what's happening, I know you do, following this blog, you're clear on it. I don't know, maybe we would get a revolt. Maybe we would get a revolution in this country, because without that, a lot of people are going to die. And I mean in the literal sense. And they're going to allow it to happen like the boiling freaking frog. So as I said, 10-year yield 3.91. Watch the pace of the sell-off. If this continues here, and we continue to see, look, I already explained this to you. At one point when that real meltdown happens in the debt market, just watch for what I'm going to tell you. 20, 30, 40 basis point jumps higher in the 10-year yield in one day, in succession. When this happens, that's it. Forget about the stock market is going to crater beyond anyone's wildest dreams. And then again, financial system lockup. There is a liquidity issue in the debt market. Ignore Fed President Waller, who went out of his way to say there is no problem. But again, Yahoo Finance headlines, fragile liquidity in bond market, IMF, World Bank, Greg Mannarino, we all understand that there is a problem here. Henceforth, why we've been seeing these gyrations here. This is not normal. And henceforth, why? Bank of England jumping in here, QE squared. It's clear. We have a clear and present danger with regard to the debt market. A meltdown here in the debt market is going to happen. When? Don't know, but you know how it's going to play out. Huge jumps in that 10-year yield. Bond yields spiking around the world. A huge amount of pressure on stock markets around the world. And cash eventually, there's going to be a lag effect first. Everything's going to come down. Everything is going to drop. Then what's going to happen, the phenomenon is very simple. Cash is going to start to relocate itself into commodities. Commodities are going to the moon and beyond. That's the truth. And I also believe, I'm going to say it, I know you hate when I say it, a lot of you, but I still believe we're going to see cash move into cryptos as well. Cryptocurrencies, you're going to see gold and silver take off, crude oil, real things, tangible things, along with cryptos. That's just my take on it. You're entitled to yours. Could it be wrong? Absolutely. But I'm just telling you what I believe. Look, nothing I say is written in stone. I just like to outline for you what I'm thinking. All right? I'm a pretty open book. I've been right a lot more than I've been wrong. No one's right 100% of the time. This is all a game of incomplete information. You understand? What people like myself do when we're trying to analyze the current market, the situation, you gotta take in a lot of data points, and I mean a lot, and you gotta kind of assimilate it and come up with the most likely scenarios based on gaps that you have to fill in. You understand? Because if we all had all of the data, which is consistently changing, okay, right in front of us, it would be very simple. But we have to fill in these holes. And that is where this becomes an art form in a lot of ways. And I don't care who you are, what super bank you may be, you're never going to get it right all the time. But you can get it right most of the time. And that's really what's important. All right, people, look, that's it for today. I think I covered a lot this morning. Please comment what you think about these things here. Where's your head at? Do you see the things I'm seeing? Or am I not getting it? What's the situation here? I would love to hear from you. Please share the video. Get it out there. Love you a lot. See you later.